Welcome to We're the Harrises. We got Super Bowl champion Chris Harris Jr. We got current Cleveland Browns Shelby Harris, veteran in the NFL, and myself, champion Super Bowl 50, alongside Chris Harris Jr. Boys, let's dive right in. Robert Salah has been fired. Where do you begin to explain this to football fans?
I think it's pretty easy. You know what I mean? Like, with how bad they were last year, the leash was extremely short. There was no area of, oh, we can figure it out. The whole idea was we were only that bad because we didn't have a quarterback. Now that excuse is out the book. You can't just say, oh, we need this, we need that. You have one of the generational talents in Aaron Rodgers, and you're still 2-3, and you have an impatient owner like Woody Johnson. That's screaming underachieving, and so they wanted to make a move, and it happened.
Yeah, you can kind of see the writing on the wall. It was make or break it this year, and them starting off slow, and their defense is still playing good, right? We still look at the numbers; they're still a top defense, but offensively, like Shelby said, they haven't been able to turn the corner at all. And when you come on those long flights, right back after taking a loss like that, right, anything can happen, right? Because they're just on the plane, they're no telling the conversations that were going on with a long flight like that. And also, you could also see in the offseason that they weren't on the same page. Him and Aaron Rodgers, he had some interviews in which he would kind of, Aaron Rodgers had to miss those mini camps, right? He was like, oh, no, we're going to find him, So they just weren't on the same page, the whole offseason, I don't think. And now we can see the writing on the wall.
And for me, with Robert Saleh, there's three things. One, it's unacceptable. I mean, the coaching job he's done the past year and a half to keep that team together. They have the top defense in the NFL, as you said, Chris. I mean, they are playing good football defensively. And then offensively, the second point here is for me, though, is offensively, Aaron Rodgers has not been that guy. When are we going to understand that outside of one Super Bowl season, what he does is he goes on an 8-game winning streak somewhere through the year, and then it crumbles in the division round, maybe a championship round. Aaron Rodgers has not been the catalyst that has put teams to the Super Bowl consistently. And then the third thing is there's something else going on behind the scenes. I'm with you, Chris. Either there was something on the plane in which that Robert Saleh either said no to and they fired him, or there's something else going on here that has brought this about. Because in no way are the Jets the worst team in the NFL. In no way is their season over. They were still on a playoff path. They went against the Vikings, who are the hottest team in the NFL, on the road and threw a pick six. I mean, that's tough to win in that kind of an environment. So I think it's unacceptable for those three reasons. The work he's done, not to mention, Zach Wilson still has a job. He could have been very different with Zach Wilson. That player alone is one example of Robert Saleh's coaching ability. And then to give him 5 games with a new quarterback who wasn't there for OTAs, that's brutal. And lastly, there's something else going on that we're not seeing.
Man, but they gotta figure out a way to get the run game going. You're just sitting there
There
trying
it
to
is.
ride the coattails of Aaron Rodgers nonstop. You got to get Brees Hall going. It's unacceptable his usage the last couple games. It's just it's an afterthought. And when your O line's not playing the best, Aaron Rodgers has been getting hit. Granted, he's thrown a good amount of interceptions. He threw the pick six last week against the Van Ginkel, but you gotta find a way to protect your quarterback, and the number one way to protect your quarterback is to run the ball. And I just don't see that right now from them. They just they're leaning on Aaron Rodgers and they're acting like he's just gonna go save the whole team, and it's just not happening right now. You got a 40-year-old quarterback coming off an Achilles. Maybe lean on the run game, play action, get him some good open looks first, because you got to admit, when quarterbacks don't play for a whole year, they're rusty.
Yes.
There's never, it's hardly ever a time where quarterbacks come back after being out for a year and they just start chopping up defenses like that again. Let him get back into his groove and everything. But it has to be a change in either play calling or just execution by everybody. But also, who's going to take over? They have Hackett, who has a couple games of head coaching experience. But other than that, though, who's in a position to take over? And that's what you really got to think about when you're firing a head coach, is who's going to lead the team after it. And so they must have somebody in mind. Very rarely, other than the Colts that one year when they brought in Jeff Saturday, very rarely do you bring somebody in from the outside to run your team mid-season. So it'd be really interesting to see, how they go about this.
Well, and does Bill Belichick come in? You bring in Bill Belichick to come in and get things right. I mean, and Shelby, you know this better than as well as I do. To run the football, that's a necessity. I don't care who your quarterback is, and the better your quarterback, the more you should run the football. Where's the game for Aaron Rodgers where he's 13 for 15 for 180 yards and 2 touchdowns? I mean, that's the kind of run game you need. It just consistently first, second, third down. I mean, the great offensive coaches I played with, even with a great quarterback, were saying, "Hey, we're going to run the ball 3 straight times here, boys. And so you get the first down or you're coming off the field." That's the kind of mentality and commitment to the run game you have to have. The Jets don't have that.
Right. I think it was one time in the game they had threw the ball like 15 straight times, probably more than that. Right. Woo. Just picking back on Shelby's point. They're leaning all on Aaron Rodgers, and their O-line is, I think they're pretty bad. Right. They're kind of more bigger, mauler type guys built for the run game, and they don't run the ball. So it's not working out. I think they have enough receivers because, everybody's hitting. Devontae Adams is going to be there. Lazard, Mike Williams, and Wilson. That's a solid trio in the league.
Hello.
Right? You should be able to make some shake with that, right? Especially those guys along with the running backs that they have. So they're definitely underperforming. And really, like you said, it starts with Aaron Rodgers and the O-line. Those guys aren't getting it done. And this change early in the season is really like that never happens like this. Right? Especially on a team that, they're not losing bad.
Yeah.
Right. They're losing last drive situation games, 3-point games. It's not like they're getting slaughtered. Right. So it's that you usually don't get fired after games like that. So something like you said, something else is deeper. And also, maybe him and his connection with Aaron Rodgers isn't there. Him and the owner's not there. And when you have that, it's probably time to move on.
But you got to think of it like this. When you have a defensive head coach and the defense is balling. They held Sam Darnold to 17 to 31 for 179 yards and 1 interception. That's Sam Darnold's worst game of the season.
Mm-hmm.
So the defense is doing its part. And so, it's sometimes you have to, be the scapegoat. You got to fall on the sword. But Robert Saleh's defense is doing what they're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the offense isn't carrying their own weight. And so it's tough. But, especially when you go overseas and you lose a game like that. I remember when I was with the Raiders, my rookie year, 2014. We went 0-3, and then we played the Dolphins in London, and we got blown out, and they fired Dennis Allen on the way back home. And it's just, it's something about those overseas games. Like, they look at them as make or break. But, man, it's tough, though, because the defense is still doing their job. And, there needs to be some accountability for offense. I feel like that's what the issue is around the league. There's no accountability anymore. It's where we're blaming the wrong people for the team's mishaps. Robert Saleh, we know, is not an offensive head coach. And so we gotta, you gotta make a decision on what is that supposed to tell everyone that their jobs are not safe, that they need to, get it together. But at the end of the day, he is the head coach. He's going to have to, take that L, but, it's not all his fault.
Well, let's talk about the team that sent him packing. These Minnesota Vikings are 5-0. I mean, do we like saying Minnesota Vikings 5-0 better, or the words Van Ginkel? I mean, so happy for that young player getting out of New England, you know what I'm saying, getting some opportunity. He's the next Kyle Van Noy type of player, I think. But what do you guys make of these Vikings in 5-0? Especially if you're on that team, what are you thinking?
Shoot, it's hot right now. Hey, we're playing good defense. I believe in Brian Flores. Yeah. Right? He's having everybody involved. Everybody's making plays on the ball. Everybody's getting a chance to blitz. That's fun when you play with D coordinators like them. They give everybody a chance to eat, right? And that's what you're seeing from them. And then offensively, they kind of got their 3-headed monster. If Aaron Jones, I think he was banged up a little bit from last week, but with Aaron Jones, Darnold, and Justin Jefferson, those guys are they're leading categories in a lot of their positions. Right, Justin Jefferson's continued to ball out, even being double teamed. right? He even, I mean, he was getting saucing them with straight flags, penalties, just setting the team up, to score. And when you have a guy like that, that just nobody can cover him, man. That's really what's helping Darnold. He's opening everything up for him, right? And that's what makes the Vikings tough. You got nice receivers on the Vikings, and you got that defensive scheme with Brian Flores that's such attack mode, right? And it causes hell. That's why the Vikings are 5-0 right now.
The offense for the Vikings has been electric all season. We've seen this. This is the first game where they struggled and the defense carried the load, and that screams playoff football. Complimentary football. Your offense isn't playing as great, so your defense has to take the lead. And then the games where the defense has, even though they've played some great defense all season, when the defense isn't playing the great, the offense is taking the lead. If you look at it right now, they've beaten 4 potentially playoff teams.
Texans, 49ers, Jets,
Jets, Packers, Texans, 49ers, and the Giants, who, they're surprising people right now.
Mm-hmm.
So none of these wins the Vikings have are against any slouches. So you have to take them serious as real contenders because they're proving you every week. It doesn't matter who we play. We're going to go out there and do what we got to do. So the Vikings, they're looking good. They're looking dangerous. And, biggest surprise to me because nobody expected it. The minute that J.J. McCarthy went down, it's like, oh, well, they're just going to throw Sam Darnold in there. It's going to be a season where they're just trying to get by. But they're out there surprising people. So then also, what does that do for the future of the Vikings? Sam Darnold's leading this team. J.J. McCarthy is their first round top 10 quarterback. He's out all year. He's going to come back next year. What do you do if you're the ownership and GM of the Vikings? What do you do? Like it's putting them. The more they win, the tougher the situation and the scenarios get for the years after. So the Vikings are definitely a surprise team, but they're putting themselves in a tough predicament for the future.
Well, my thing too, I saw Sam Darnold 2 years ago when he was with San Francisco, and he looked like a new player. And people don't give enough credit to Brian Griese at the San Francisco 49ers for what he's done in developing not only Brock Purdy, but getting Trey Lance to be competent, but also now Sam Darnold. I mean, Sam Darnold's the biggest difference here for the Vikings. You got a quarterback you're paying $10 million. That's a steal in the NFL. You got a 5-0 quarterback on a $10 million contract. Hello. And to your point, Shelby, what you do is you keep playing the quarterback that doesn't lose, right? Whatever J.J. McCarthy's doing when he gets back from his knee surgery, it's not going to be better than Sam Darnold right now. And what does that Sam Darnold contract look like? Could you get him for $17 million per year for the next 2 years? Maybe, right? I mean, this is the kind of thing this is a good problem to have if you're the Vikings. But the biggest concern, and each of us have been on teams that have been on win streaks, you start winning, especially early, the tendency to slip on the details, week 6 through 9, is very high. Everybody's calling you Super Bowl contenders. People are coming to games. You're staying out later after games because every win, as Shelby mentioned, against some playoff teams, you're feeling great, and you got to celebrate every win in the NFL. So I look out for the Vikings in the future, and maybe they're going to get a loss that they shouldn't have because people aren't kind of sharp on those details.
And like Shelby said, man, it's going to be interesting because, he's on a 1-year deal, right? Are you going to max him out? Because if he keeps balling like he's balling, he's going to get some accolades, right? He's going to be at least in the conversation, right? Because right now he's in the MVP conversation. Let's say he places in the top 5, right? He's going to be hot for next year in the free agency. Somebody's going to pay him, right? Woo. Maybe the Browns. Maybe the Raiders.
Does he go back to the Panthers?
Somebody might open the checkbook to him because he'll be hot. So it's going to be interesting to see if Vikings are they going to want to do that for him? With a rookie quarterback on a rookie deal, which is good because he can sit and wait. He has 5 years being as a first round pick that he has they have that extra year, to kind of where he's on a deal where they can work with, right? So it's going to be interesting after this year, because once the quarterback's hot, man, they start reaching that $30 million range. And now think about it. The top quarterback's in the $60 million range. So no telling where Darnold could be next year.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, let me get to my question, man.
Yeah, get
Let's
to 'em.
talk about it now. Who are the MVP candidates? Right? We got a lot of them out there. You know, you got
Mhm.
Sam Darnold, CJ Stroud, Mahomes, Derrick Henry, Jaden Daniels, the rookie, right? Some guys out there that's making plays. Some even put Justin Jefferson in there, right?
Mhm.
The way or Jamar Chase, the way he's been going crazy the last 4 weeks. So who do y'all got in there, man?
Man, I gotta go. I'm gonna change it up. You know, I'm not gonna go offense. I'm not gonna go offense. Offensive guys get too much love in this league. But if you're talking about just game record, game changer so far this season, I gotta go with Aiden Hutchinson.
Yeah.
Aiden Hudson, 6.5 sacks this year. A bunch
Already.
of, top 5 in the league in pressures. Just really doing everything that he can do to really get this Lions defense, to be who they really can be. And I really think a lot of who the Lions are, obviously, we know about their offense, and their offense hasn't even hit full stride yet.
Mm.
Their defense is really playing well, keeping them in games. You saw a Seattle game, the defense really, was showing a bunch of different stuff and really giving Seattle all they can handle. But I love Aiden Hutchinson. I love the way he plays. Just the full go. He reminds me of a Max Crosby type. Just always on the go, always moving, always doing something. But he's really he's destroying stuff right now. But then also,
Yeah.
I hate to say it because he just whooped our ass. But Jaden Daniels,
Mm.
Jaden Daniels, the man's balling.
What was it like? What was it like, though, Shelby? Tell us what it's like to see it on the field. I mean, you got to see Jaden Daniels on the field. What do we not know that you know after playing against them?
Man, it's just he has the command of the offense. He knows what he's doing out there. But also, it's hard to get him down. I can't tell you he broke about probably four or 5 sacks against us, where he was able. It's like the Mahomes type, or the Lamar type, where they break a tackle and they start moving and they can make a play with their legs or throw a bomb. I saw him hit Terry McLaurin for a 45-yard, 50-yard throw after breaking a sack on 3rd down. It's those little things, those X factors where it's tough to stop him because he's so shifty. He's strong. He's not just going to go down easy. So if you do blitz him and you miss, he's going to chop your defense up. And so it's just he knows what he's doing, and he's faster than what I thought he was going to be. We watch it on film. He's covering 3 yards every stride, like 3-4 yards every stride. The kid's special, and Cliff, and you got to give kudos to Cliff Kingsbury. He's over there tailoring an offense to his quarterback, and they're doing really good in their defense. Their defense is balling out of their mind. So you make your job easy for the rookie quarterback when your defense is playing like that. So I got to say, I would have to say Aiden Hutchinson definitely because the way he's balling, but then Jaden Daniels is definitely up there because look at the stats.
Woo.
You see the stats from Mahomes and like Jared Goff and all those guys. They're not actually necessarily the greatest, but they're winning games still. You know what I mean? But Jaden Daniels has the stats to back it up, and they're 4-1.
Well, I think the Commanders have the lead right now in the NFC East. That's how well he's playing. That's how well Jaden Daniels is playing him. And my favorite thing for those who don't really know football, anytime you see the ball leave the frame of the television and land in the hands of a receiver, that's an elite throw. We're not talking about one that's, hovers at the top of the screen. You can see it though. When you can't see the football and somebody catches it 45 yards down the field, that's elite. And so that ability for the Commanders to score, I mean, they're going to win that NFC East. However, my MVP remains the man who's number 15 on his jersey, but number 1 in America's heart. That's Patrick Mahomes. The man's 5-0 and has literally lost 3 key starters at the skill position, and he still wins. Maybe it's not pretty. That's fine. And it doesn't have to be pretty. As we all know, this is the 2nd month of the season now. You're in October. There's a long way to raising that trophy in February. And Patrick Mahomes is 5-0. He is still the MVP, doing more with less than any other quarterback in the NFL.
Since y'all went quarterbacks, I'm gonna go with Derrick Henry. Right? I don't think anybody has more breakaway runs than Derrick Henry this year. right? And he's doing it not in a traditional way that he's done it in the past, right? It's more shotgun. It's more he has to, it's different from him being in that home position a lot. So I love the way he's doing, and he's adding a different dynamic to the Ravens. That's going to make them a very tough team in the playoffs. When you got two guys that are capable of getting 100 yards apiece, right? That's a long day for a defense, right? So I'm gonna go with Derrick Henry. Leading the league in rushing yards and just being a problem so far this season.
Well, let's talk about a team that's also hot right now, and that's the Denver Broncos. 3 straight wins. Bo Nix now looking like the quarterback everybody thought he could be. What do you make of the Denver Broncos and their win streak right now?
Man, it's impressive. You got to give the credit. You got to give the credit to the Broncos. Everything they're doing, offense, defense. Bo Nix is starting to figure it out. Now people are kind of chilling on Sean Payton. All the criticism of him the first couple games. You're starting to see Bo Nix look like how he did in the preseason. But man, you cannot give enough credit to that Bronco defense. And Vance Joseph, once again, another masterclass. But to be able to have a good defense, you got to give credit to the good players. Their best players are making plays, and that's what it takes. When you got guys who you have those big money guys, they got to show up in order for you to be successful. And you have all those guys showing up for the Broncos. You have Pat Surtain, 2 interceptions, 1 return, 100 yards for a touchdown.
100 yards.
Like now, also, I don't think the people that need the credit get it enough. That revamped Broncos D-line is baller. With Jonathan Franklin Myers, Malcolm Rose, Zach Allen, DJ Jones, they're all doing what they need to do to go out there and take the pressure off the linebackers. Linebackers are hurt. So the D-line is really doing their thing and really getting active. As a D-lineman, I got to give credit to the D-line. That's because we all know no quarterback likes to get hit. No quarterback likes inside pressure, and they're doing all of that. And so the Broncos are really just doing everything it takes to win. All the little stuff that, rushing the passer, stopping the run, putting themselves in position for 3rd and longs, and then, riding the rookie quarterback. So the Broncos are, definitely surprising a lot of people, but, it's all about, they still got to get that run game going. They still, and that's the scary part about them. They really haven't even unlocked the run game yet. And so the sooner they can unlock that running game and still take a little bit more pressure off Bo Nix, the better they'll be.
Right. The Broncos, like Shelby said, they're playing great defense. The biggest change in their defense this year is they're stopping the run. Right. I think last year they were 30. They're in the 30s, right? 31, 32. They were pretty bad last year stopping the run. And they picked all the nice pickups they picked up with John Franklin, Roach, Zach Allen playing better. DJ Reed he's always been a solid run stopper. But just adding all those guys, having such more continuity in Vance Joseph's system. I think the linebacker Sternard is everywhere. He's playing solid right now. The secondary's into him. They're playing good. I love the Brandon Jones pickup from the Dolphins. That was a steal, right? Being able to having to find somebody to replace Justin Simmons, and this guy's came in and fit in real nice, right? So I love the way that they're playing. And the biggest key on the offense is they haven't been turning the ball over the last 3 games, right? The reason why they're winning is a low turnover rate, right? Bo's been able to take care of the football. And those games that they lost, he threw some bad interceptions in the red zone, right? That could have kind of changed the game of them winning those games. So he's being smarter in the red zone, right? Smarter with the football. And that's why the Broncos are winning right now. They're not killing themselves. And that's what they have to do. They have to continue to play that style of football. Bo has to continue to manage the game. Javante's actually been playing better the last 2 games, right? He's been running the football better. He's taking on that P. Ryan role of being that receiver threat on the backfield. So I think as long as they can continue to build off that and Bo continue to play like he played in that second half, we're going to be good.
Well, I'm going to start with the defense for the Broncos because of Shelby and you, Chris. I mean, that defense is so good. Justin Shenanigans doesn't have to do much as the backup linebacker now starting. And I look at and people, we've been talking about Vance Joseph, but I want to show people what that means. Riley Moss, 2 weeks ago, had a brutal penalty, and Aaron Rodgers against the Jets, he knows he's got a rookie corner. He's targeting his receiver fall, and Riley Moss doesn't even look at the football, gets the flag. The very next week, because that coaching point is turn around and find the ball, right? The very
Yeah.
next week, what does Riley Moss do? He's down the sidelines. He gets to that spot where the week before he went at the receiver, he turns, he gets an interception. I mean, that's coaching and a player who's willing to listen. Then offensively,
Right.
Javonte Williams got benched, and it was good for him. It was good for him to
Yeah.
get benched because he came back hungrier, firmer. He's leaping over guys. But the
Yeah.
biggest improvement for the Broncos has been on third down. For the first time all season, they got near 50% on third down, going for 7 for 15. You win games and score points by converting third downs. And that was a huge issue for the Broncos really this whole season. And so now when you start converting on third downs, you get these drives that continue. The defense has more time to rest. And then you score a touchdown. All of a sudden the defense, they're unencumbered. They can do whatever they want. So that's been the three differences to me. The defense for the Broncos with players like Riley Moss coming around, changing in a week that coaching point, and then offensively getting Javonte Williams going and converting on third down. That's what has brought the success for the Broncos in this 3-game win streak.
All right, now let's pivot. Let's talk about a team that has been struggling the last couple of weeks. The Steelers. They, heartbreaking loss this last week against the Cowboys, and then they lost the week before. They're on a 2-game losing streak. And, we were talking about, we're not benching Justin Fields. We're not doing anything like that. But it seems like, the offense has started sputtering. There's nowhere to go. How soon do you try to turn the rust to try to fix it? At least try to get a jump start.
I want to see what it looks like. You want to kind of see how Russ looks and how he feels, and if he can get the offense going. But I think Justin Fields has been playing solid. Right? He only has 2 turnovers on the year, and it's not like he has a lot of weapons. Right? All he has is probably one is Pickens, and I don't know if he's a for sure fire number 1 receiver.
Man, he was
right?
jogging half the routes this last week. I mean, that's the kind of
Playing
thing where
against
you
him.
see that as a teammate, you got to rip his face mask off, Hey, you can't be jogging out there.
And that's his new age receivers these days, though. I'm telling you. They're like, you know when they're getting the ball, you know when they're not getting the ball. And that's where they're struggling at right now.
Yeah. I mean, AB was the same way. AB would come to the line. If he goes like this, it's a pass. If he just standing straight up, it's a run. So a lot of receivers do that, but, they give more effort. I think the older guys, they used to give a little bit more effort. But, with Pickens, he's just a deep ball guy, right? 50-50 guy, right? And Justin Fields has the tight end, and that's probably it. They don't really have a lot of weapons, right? Austin, he's a little small guy in the slot. But he's not an established guy. He's new. So, and the run game hasn't been great with Najee Harris. So, I think I still want to see what Russell Wilson looks like. But Justin Fields, he doesn't deserve to be benched, I don't believe, because it's not his fault that the Steelers let the Dak Prescott finish the game with a game-winning touchdown, right? He can't control that, right? So, I think Justin Fields still deserves to keep his job. But I do want to see what it looks like with Russell back there.
I think you're going to get one more week of Justin Fields. And, I was lucky to play with the Steelers and under Mike Tomlin for a year. What an amazing coach. This is going to be the week where I think you see Justin Fields let it go, because Justin Fields to me has been playing not to lose. And what you saw in that game against the Cowboys is you'll lose to a team that is playing to win. You have to play to win. And if I'm Justin Fields, I'm thinking, if I throw 5 picks, I'd rather throw 5 picks and no touchdowns and not air this thing out. I'm going to give it a shot. I'm gonna use my best preparation this week and go out and fire. Now, Russell Wilson comes in, conversely, that's a ton of pressure on him, because now everybody's saying, oh, great, Russ, you're back. Make the offense work. Well, that offense might not work. And the biggest key is what you said, Chris. Najee Harris really has not taken that step that historically Alabama running backs take in the NFL. Could be because of the offensive line, sure. But, you have to be consistent in running the football, especially in the Steelers offense. And there's some moments where Najee Harris is playing well, but he's not that number 1 back that you need, especially with the middle of the pack quarterback. You've got to have a guy that says, give me the ball, the kind of guy that runs for 8 yards on 2nd and 2, pops up with the mouth guard out saying, feed me. They need that guy. They don't have him on the Steelers. They've had that historically, and I think that's the biggest problem with that offense, regardless of who plays quarterback.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue is just that the passing game is just so so bland. It's all 5-yard routes. It's quick pass. Like they showed in the graphic during the game. Justin Fields is throwing the ball in 2 seconds and under pretty much all year. So that means it's short routes, or you just try to throw it up. And the run game has been atrocious. They haven't been able to get anything started with the run game, and it's and I think that's a big part of Jaylen Warren not playing. You know,
Yes.
I like Jaylen Warren and I like Najee Harris together, but when it's just one or the other, they kind of struggle, and it's not looking good. The defense played a decent game. You held the Cowboys to 20 points. Yeah, in the last drive you struggled and Dak scored, but you had 2 interceptions on Dak. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're getting turnovers. The offense has to capitalize on this. So I think they do end up turning the rust just to see what they got. Just to
And a
see
sack force fumble.
yeah, so 3 turnovers. Like, that's 3 turnovers. So you got to at least see what you got. You know, see if it can revitalize the defense. But is he healthy? Is he healthy to play? You know those calves. Those are
I was going to say calf is worse than a shoulder or a knee for a lot of football players. A calf, you're like, man, I don't know.
You
It's
feel
worse
it
than a
all.
hamstring.
You feel it all the time. You feel your calf in everything you do. You want to go roll out. You do this, like, especially a quarterback like Russ who wants to move around a little bit around the pocket and outside the pocket. You know, you're going to be feeling it. So I feel like once he does get healthy, they will go with Russ. But because if he was healthy, I feel like he'd be out there. But you know, it's not all Justin Fields' fault. He's doing what's asked of him. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. The Steelers' offense has struggled for the last couple of years. It was Kenny Pickett. You know, you can blame it on anyone. But obviously you're seeing the same result year after year. So, you know, you got to figure out what's going on on that offense, and you got to figure out a way to get everybody going. How do you revitalize George Pickens? He's not playing like a number one right now. You know, all the lollygagging, all the jogging around and stuff. You can't have that. If you don't have the weapons, you traded Deontay Johnson to the Panthers. You have to take that step in to be the guy, and you just haven't seen it. So, you know, I don't know really what else they need to do, but I'm telling you, nothing's going to work until they start to run the ball and figure out how to wear down these defenses. Because 3 and outs and, you know, going on and off the field like that, you're just tiring your defense out. So that on the last drive, like they had, you know, they looked overmatched.
Right. And when I think of the Steelers, I never would have to think like they need receivers or they need more weapons. Because at my whole time in the league with the receivers, they always had weapons, right? Or overload of weapons, right? So I remember one year we played them. They had what was that fast receiver? He was just blazed. I forgot his name. Jericho Cotry, Mike Wallace.
Oh yeah, Mike Wallace.
You know, Emmanuel Sanders, AB, Hines Ward. They had all these guys all at one time. You know, they always had receivers.
They had Heath at tight end. You know, Heath at tight end too. A big dude, Minnesota.
They always had weapons, right? So just seeing these guys just only depending on Pickens, like that's not the Steeler way ever. You know, with Mike Tomlin, they always still have receivers, weapons, right? And I think they're lacking that right now, and hopefully that's what they're gonna have to invest in next year, right? They're gonna have to. Their defense is pretty solid already, so I think they definitely got a full blown invest in the offense. Try to get Fields. They're probably gonna keep Fields for the future, right? What do y'all think? I think he's probably the guy that they're probably try to build on and probably you know, try to build a team around next year because you know Russell's getting older. One, he's probably gonna want to get paid more next year. I think they can probably get Fields on a nice little deal. I don't know. That's gonna be interesting. What do y'all see? Who's gonna be the quarterback next year for the Steelers?
Well, he's gonna have to show a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because if you can't, you know, I get it, you're asking your quarterback to get the ball out quick, but they're gonna need to open up that offense a little bit more, get a little bit more downfield passing. And I get it. Everyone loves the fact that Justin Fields is fast, but we're seeing more and more that's going to get your quarterback hurt. So he just got to develop more as a passer. But I just don't know who else they're going to turn to. Or maybe you see Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's just like we were talking about before. Maybe you see one of those guys go and take over. But at this point, it's a lot more questions than answers in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Well, I'm with you, Chris. I think that with the Steelers, you're moving forward. You might be able to get Russ. It's going to be hard to get him for less than 20. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
especially if he comes back and starts balling. And look, Mike Tomlin would love to have that question answered before next season, right? Or maybe draft a guy in the second round or something like that next year. But I'm with you guys. You got to get some talent at receiver. You got to get an extra lineman, tackler, or guard. And it's an uncharacteristic Steelers team this year. So it's a lot more questions than I think anybody who's had experience with the Steelers is used to asking. And make no mistake, Mike Tomlin's aware of that. But boys, we got a couple minutes left. Let's get to our 2-minute drill. First and foremost, let's start with you, Chris. The Bengals, rough or are they fine?
I'd say rough, man. The defense is atrocious right now. They can't tackle or can't cover right now. And Joe Burrow's putting up great numbers, but they don't have a run game. And so I would say it's rough right now. And their schedule is not going to get easier.
Shelby?
Man, I just think that you can never count out a team with a quarterback. and you can never, as long as you have a quarterback, you're able to do something in this league. Defense will eventually figure it out. Joe Burrow has shown that, he can be one of those special quarterbacks in the league. So I just think, give it a little bit of time and they'll be okay.
All right, next play. We got Alabama losing to Vanderbilt. Shout out to Clark Lee, former Notre Dame coach. Heck of a defensive coach. What'd you guys make of that Alabama loss?
Man, that happens all the time. You see it in the NFL. You see it in college football. You see it in high school football. You go out, you beat the number one team in the country, or you beat the team that you're not supposed to win against. Oh, yeah, all emotions are high. You come out and you lay a dud the next week. That's exactly what Alabama did. And I'm talking about it was crazy watching that game, just watching them everyone was just waiting for Vandy to somehow mess it up.
Yeah.
And they just kept going and it was cool. They did not mess it up. So they ended up pretty much doing what they were supposed to do, but good for them. This is the once in a lifetime win.
Yeah, Vandy's the worst. They're always the doorstep, team in the SEC. So for them to be able to beat the number one team over probably the last decade in that conference, that's a major win. That's probably their biggest win in history, right? Mm-hmm. When is the last time Vandy's beat the number one team in the nation? So it's going to be interesting. The whole college football playoffs, I think it's going to be multiple teams with multiple losses in the tournament. And so I think that kind of relaxes a little bit in the regular season, just a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. Just because they have more teams that can make the playoffs. So hopefully this loss doesn't hurt them because I still think they should still be a college football playoff team.
Yeah, Jalen Milroe, I think, will come in second to Travis Hunter in the Heisman Trophy candidacy. And there's still a long way in the college
Genty, man. Don't forget the boy from Boise State.
Yeah, but come on now. I mean, little running back. I'm happy for him. He's not better than Travis Hunter. Come on.
But, man, the stats he's putting up, though, and the highlight runs he's putting up, man, you got to have him up there. Until, if he keeps running off games like how he is, you got to have him as a Heisman favorite.
Easily. Come on, man. He got 1,000 yards already.
Nope.
Right? 16 touchdowns.
Name me three teams Boise State beat. That's it. You know what I'm saying?
They almost beat Oregon.
They almost beat Oregon. I got you. Yeah. I'm happy for him. I'm happy for the young man from Boise. I just, come on, man. You got a dual threat. You got a dual playing corner, safety, receiver. And then you got Jalen Milroe. I mean, I don't know. I think that there's a difference there in the talent. I could be wrong.
Tell me a team that Colorado has beat?
I think you're wrong on this one.
Team. We'll see it this week. We'll see this week at K-State. But have they beaten anybody? Have they beaten anyone of substance? They almost lost to North Dakota State.
Nope, but it looks good. All right, let's go. The next play. Let's go to a little baseball here. Oh, and I know, Shelby, you're a little in your feelings because the Brewers went down. I'm all in as a Mets fan and a Dodgers fan. Shohei Ohtani, show me something against the Padres tonight.
Yes,
but what do you guys got, man? What do you guys got for these baseball playoffs?
Man, I love the little guy. I got to go with the Royals. I love the teams, the small market teams. Brewer fan, heartbroken, top of the ninth, 3-run home run. I'm talking about heartbroken. But, I love that, because baseball, I feel like, is one of those sports where everyone wants to root for the little guy because of the salary cap discrepancy. There is no salary cap. You got teams. You got 2 players on one team making more than the whole other team. And so, the Royals, I think, are a team that I think America can get behind and really root for. Robbie Witt Jr., like really going out there and becoming, he was an MVP candidate out there with Shohei. So I really just believe that, the Royals are a real good team that we can get behind and root for.
Dodgers all day with me, just because I remember being in the league when I was younger in the league, man. Somebody called me Mookie Betts, trying to roast me, So ever since then, man, I was watching them with the Red Sox, and I love them with the Dodgers, man. So I think they just don't have the pitching to guarantee them to win a World Series, but the batting, they're loaded 1 through 5. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens. I'm a fan of the Royals. I like Witt Jr. He's nice. I think Shohei will be MVP. Judge will be MVP. Right? Those guys have been, they're breaking records all season long. So those guys have been monsters. But I think the MLB is gonna draw it up, Shelby. Yankees versus Dodgers.
Come on.
It's gonna be like that, right? They're gonna have the most viewers, right? Everybody's gonna be locked in. One of the biggest World Series ever. It's written for the moment right now.
Man, don't give up on the Padres, man. They all here doing their thing. And, they did set it up for the Yankees, though. They got the Astros out of there. Got the Astros out of there quick. So, hey, it's set up for the Yankees, but, hey, don't give up on the Royals. And, hey, look at the Guardians.
Mm-hmm.
The Guardians are here doing their thing, too. And the Tigers are one of, the best feel-good stories of all time, considering where they were August 11th. So, it really could be anybody, but it's tough to beat those teams with that high salary because they got that star power.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's our episode of We're the Harrises. Thanks for joining us this week. We'll catch you next week with more of the top NFL, college football, and sports stories.